gonna be making rotini, like a corkscrew pasta. And just to be fun, well, I said just to be fun, but now I can't find it. Okay, so just to be fun, we got tricolor rotini. Look at that. So there's a yellow one like normal. There's a kind of an orangish one, and then there's a green one. I know. Good morning, Alice. All right, so the first thing you have to do, obviously, is get a pot of water going. And so my pot of water is just about to a roaring boil. A roaring boil. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add my pasta. Pasta is gonna take about 9 minutes, and about 4 minutes in, I'm gonna add a bag of angel hair coleslaw. You know, this is just cabbage, right? That's been shredded very thinly. You certainly can do this at home. You know, I vacillate back and forth between easy and cheap. And I went with easy and not as cheap. So there you go. So we start off with our tricolor. Of course, you can use any kind of rotini you want. And quite frankly, you can use whatever pasta you want. Please don't feel like, you know, I always want to give you options. Please don't feel like, oh, she said rotini, I must use rotini. If you want it to look like mine, then of course, yes. Okay, so we've got our rotini go. Oh, see, I knew I put some out. There, see, I put them out. I'm gonna put those in there. All right, so that's gonna go in our boiling water. Then we're gonna need a skillet of some sort or saucepan. And we're gonna start with 4 tablespoons of butter. You see the butter in there? 4 tablespoons of butter, medium-high heat. Good morning, Vicki Ann. Good to see you. Vicki, do you know that my middle name is Ann too? In my family, for the longest time, the oldest daughter's middle name was always Ann. So my daughter's middle name is Ann as well. So there you go. All right, so we're gonna be making kind of a white sauce, almost like a bechamel. And so remember, when we do a white sauce like this, we're gonna need the same amount of fat, equal amounts of fat and flour, okay? So the fat I'm using here is butter. It's salted butter. I mean, it's just the butter that I had in the cow, right? The cow, yes. See, my butter is in the cow. Moo! There we go. Anyway, so 4 tablespoons, that's what we're starting with. 4 tablespoons of butter in our saucepan, and we're gonna let that melt. As soon as it melts, we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of flour. Now we're gonna whisk this, and you know I love my new Danish batter whisk. I also have several metal whisks. Just because I don't wanna mess up the inside of my saucepan, I'm actually gonna use a plastic whisk. Because you know, when you use metal on metal, things can be bad, right? Good morning from Zion, Illinois, Nancy, right next door to Kenosha. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. You're the oldest daughter, and they have aunt, mother, and yeah, cool, huh? So maybe that's a family thing. All right, so my butter is doing the little bubble. Can you hear it? Bubble, toil and trouble. All right, so I'm gonna add just a little, I'm gonna turn this just a bit so you can see more down, okay? So we're gonna add a little bit of the flour, and I'm gonna whisk. Whiskey. Not that kind of whisk, right? All right, so we're gonna add a little bit more. Can you see in the pot? I hope so. I keep looking on, and in we go, that was that. I keep looking on websites for a better camera for you guys, but I haven't found anything I liked yet. All right, so you see how it's like all, well, it's coming together, right? And what we're doing when we do this, so just because it's all there doesn't mean we stop. I love that Danish whisk too, Terry. What we're doing is we're kind of cooking the flour taste out of the flour. That's why we do this. Anytime you make a roux, so like Louisiana people would call this a roux, right? Instead of a white sauce or a bechamel. We're cooking that flour taste out because we don't want things to taste like flour. Okay, so just about a minute. You see how that goes. Now we're gonna add, we've got 1 1/4 cups. 1 1/4 cups of milk. Now don't just dump that whole sucker in there. We wanna go a little bit at a time. And see how it soaks it all up and then it becomes solid again, right? And so we do that again. I'm gonna pull it this way just a bit. See how it soaks all the milk up and then it becomes like Play-Doh again. Not Play-Doh. Hey, Sandy. Oh, the camera is good. Okay, well, thank you, Nancy. I appreciate it. So if a Reuben is not, oh, now it's kind of looking, look, okay? Now we're just gonna put the rest of our milk in there. If a Reuben is not your favorite deli sandwich, what is your favorite deli sandwich? I do love a good Reuben, but that's just me. So share, what is your favorite deli sandwich? Okay, do you see how, look at that. Look how thick that is. That's a good thickness we've got. And now we're gonna add a can of chicken broth, okay? You know what, before I add the can of chicken broth all the way, I'm gonna add my pepper. You know, you're gonna add not quite a teaspoon, maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon in there. I'm not gonna add salt, and I'll explain why I'm not gonna add salt in a little bit when we move. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add some more of my chicken broth. I have my, because the way my stove is, I have my rotini, my pasta on the back burner. I'm gonna put this on here. Because if I had it over there, you'd be on fire. And there's not as much heat over there, so it's taking much longer for that to boil. Ham, a good ham sandwich. Pastrami on rye. Ooh, Eileen, that sounds good. BLTA, just a BTA. A BTA, I do too. I'm not a big lettuce person on sandwiches. I don't know why that is, but there you go. A good grilled Reuben too, I know. So do we all know the history of the Reuben? I would be surprised if you knew the history of the Reuben. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. Look at our sauce. It almost looks like gravy, right? Which basically, this is how you make gravy. All right, so now to this, I'm gonna add 3/4. We don't have a 3/4 of a cup, a teaspoon. So I'm gonna have to do this. 3/4 of a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, whatever brand. A French dip. Those are good. Messy. French dips I always think of as messy sandwiches. Although a good Reuben is kind of messy too, right? All right, so I just used the 1/4 teaspoon and did it 3 times. That gives me 3/4 of a teaspoon. And then I also need a tablespoon and a half. I'm just gonna eyeball this, of Dijon mustard, okay? Dijon mustard, so a tablespoon and a half. One, there we go. I just eyeballed that. All right, so I'm gonna whisk this up. Look at that. I wish you could smell that. That is so lovely. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, even though it's kind of a roaring boil. So my rotini is boiling, and now I'm gonna add my angel hair. This is angel hair coleslaw, but again, like I said, you certainly could just shred up some cabbage, and that would be much cheaper than what I did. Trifecta Sammys. Sarah, I don't know what those are. Turkey bacon wraps, those are good. Sarah, would you share with us what a trifecta Sammy is? Okay, I know you're thinking weird, right? She put cabbage in with the pasta. It's fine. Just give it all a mix, and we'll bring that back up to a boil. I'm putting a lid on it. Okay, now to our sauce. It's still hot. Hold on, I gotta get it. I had 2 cups of shredded Swiss cheese, because you can't have a good Reuben without some good Swiss cheese, right? Good morning, Sunshine Joan. All right, so I'm gonna put a handful in here and then whisk. It's hot enough still in here that it will melt. I turned it off just because, I don't know, I just don't want any more heat going in there, right? I love bacon. I think bacon should be on every sandwich. That's what I think. Some of you have seen that a hurricane is headed our direction here in Houston, although And who knows? You know the weatherman, right? It could be headed our direction or it could go somewhere else. Right now, it looks like it's going to go more east and not hit us. And so, which makes me very sad and scary for East Texas folks, like in the city of Beaumont, and our Louisiana neighbors. So that it's a little scary for them. All the hospitals are on emergency alert. Okay, look at this. Look. Oh, look at that. It's so thick. It's so lovely. Okay, that's what we want. Look at that. Yes, look at that. Okay, that's what we want. We're going to set that aside. Good morning, Lori. Good to see you. Of course, the way my dad makes it. Egg, ham, corned beef, Swiss on top of rye with horseradish sauce. Yum! Sarah, that sounds phenom. Phenom, I tell you. Okay. We're almost there with our pasta. So we're going to go ahead and move. While that continues to cook, we're moving. Are you ready to move? I know. Okay, so I'm going to take, look at that. Look at that. I'm just telling you, let's just taste that. Oh my gosh. So good. So this is the corned beef that I bought out of the deli. And quite frankly, I had them cut it, I don't know what the number is, but a little thick, right? Because I want to know that it's corned beef. You're on the way for lunch, I know. So there you go. The Swiss cheese, you know how most of the time, I'm just going to dice it up. You know how most of the time you can just buy something already shredded. The stuff that was in my bowl, I had to actually shred myself because no Swiss cheese. And sometimes I prefer baby Swiss cheese, not available. So there you go. It was just a big old block of cheese. So if I was doing that, this is the cheaper way, that's what I did anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna dice. You know me and my dices, right? My dicing Cindy, yum. Okay, we're gonna need a big old bowl. Oh, the camera is backwards, that's right. How about let me do this. Hold on. There. Now, here we go. Now you can read. Cindy's Kitchen. There you go. You're gonna need a big old bowl. Remember, Bob, big old bowl. I'm gonna put my corned beef as I cut it into the big old bowl, okay? Big old bowl. Yum. It smells really good. Okay, hold on. Looks like number 4. Oh, okay. See, good. Number 4 or something like that. Do you sing? That's how your husband gets your bologna. My bologna has a first name. It's O-S-C-A-R. My bologna has a second name. It's M-E-Y-E-R. Oh, I love to eat it every day. And if you ask me why, I'll say, 'cause Oscar Mayer has a way with B-O-L-O-G-N-A. It's the only way I learned how to spell Bologna. All right. So I'm cutting up the last of my corned beef. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and go over and get check my rotini. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Hot. Okay, let me turn that off. Okay. All right, I don't have to cut up anything else, so I'm moving this out of the way. The other thing we're gonna add to this is, so this is about 8 ounces or about 2 cups. And it may be a little bit more. Your dog's name is Oscar Mayer. Hello. Hey, Joanne, good to see you. All right, so about 2 cups. That's about 2 cups, okay? So 8 ounces maybe. The other thing I'm gonna add is a can of sauerkraut. I know you're going sauerkraut, but you did the cabbage, it's fine. 1 can of sauerkraut. Now, I drain the sauerkraut and I squeeze the excess liquid out of it, okay? There you go. So in goes the sauerkraut. Now, I couldn't find the sauerkraut. I could have made it, I know, I have before. Couldn't find the sauerkraut that I wanted. The sauerkraut that I love, is my favorite, is Bavarian style sauerkraut. Now, what's the difference? The only difference in a regular sauerkraut and a Bavarian style is caraway seeds, okay? And so I'm gonna put, I don't know, half a teaspoon of caraway seeds. Oh, smells like rye bread. Yum, smells like rye. Did you know that Oscar Mayer bologna was made in Chicago? I did not. Hey, Lori, good morning. Okay, so caraway seeds, about a half a teaspoon of caraway seeds, if you like that particular kind, okay? Now, we're gonna take our spider. Remember the spider? If you don't have a spider, you can use a slotted spoon, okay? Here is our rotini, our cooked rotini, and our cabbage. And we're gonna put that in our bowl, okay? So we're using our spider. I just think the spider is like a little thing of heaven. So you see why I needed this really big bowl. This makes a huge casserole. We're gonna cook this 350 degrees in a 9x13. Although, I'm gonna tell you to use a 9x13. But I have this really cool Polish pottery dish. I'm going with dish. And it is not a 9x13, it's like a 10x15. And so it's only 2 inches tall instead of 3 inches tall, like a 9x13. But I like it, and it's pretty. And I think you should use dishes and things that make you happy. And so there I am. Let's talk about the history of the Reuben sandwich. Just like some things, you know, very hotly contested. A lot of people will tell you, I'm putting this over here. Ow, that was very hot. A lot of people will tell you that the Reuben sandwich was invented in New York City. Although, supposedly, it was invented in Nebraska. Okay, here's our little white sauce that we're pouring in. We're just gonna pour this on top. Look at that cheesy sauce. Oh my gosh, look at that, look at that. Anyway, so there was the guy that owned a string of hotels in New York, and in Nebraska, and I can't remember his name. But anyway, so his name is not Reuben. He, look at that. Look at that. There were card players, you know, that were out there playing poker, and they wanted something to eat, and so he created the Reuben sandwich for a guy whose first name was Reuben. It was funny because one of the family members of this said that, you know, when it was published, when she wrote a thing about how her grandfather invented the Reuben sandwich, some foodie who said they were a food historian found problems with this, right? And so it was like a couple month deal where everybody was searching for proof that her grandfather actually, you know, was the first one, and it was actually Nebraska and not New York. Eastern European folks, though. So there you go. Okay. Oh, this is not open. Doggone it. I'm adding some Thousand Island dressing. Because really, what is a Reuben? Well, for me, a Reuben needs to have Thousand Island dressing. So I would say about 1/3 of a cup. Look at me. 1/3 of a cup. Measure, if you will, right? 1/3 of a cup of Thousand Island dressing, okay? Now, look how yummy this is, right? So we have pasta. So that's gonna take the price of our bread. And because we're not gonna have rye bread, that's another reason to use the caraway seeds, because the caraway seeds will give us that yummy flavor of the rye bread without having it. We have our corned beef, we have cabbage, and we have coleslaw. So really 2 different kinds of textures. And you'll notice, I hope you'll notice I didn't put any salt in here. And I didn't because corned beef is kind of salty. Sauerkraut is salty. I'm gonna do a little spray. Swiss cheese is salty. I just didn't think we needed any more cheese, okay? All right, so here's my pan. Again, this is a 10x15, but you can just use a 9x13. That's fine, okay? Oh my gosh, so heavy. I don't know how to make this smaller. So, whoops, I made a mess. I don't know how to make this smaller because, you know, I like to cook big. I just like to cook big, all right? Okay, ooh, look at all that cheese, that yummy cheese. Okay, now that we've got all of that in there, oh my gosh, so good. You have to make a choice. So good. Okay. Now that's all in there, you have to make a choice. And it's wholly up to you. You can put a topping on this. My daughter, the one that's still home, does not like when there's a crunchy topping on something. And so therefore, I am not putting a crunchy topping on this because, you know, my family has to eat this. So, that being said, if you are a crunchy topping kind of person, you can take a little bit of butter, maybe a half a stick of butter, and about a cup of breadcrumbs. Panko would be good. Panko breadcrumbs, maybe put in some fresh parsley or some dried parsley and some Parmesan cheese. Mix that all together and that can go on the top of this. For me, because I'm not gonna do the breadcrumbs because she doesn't like that. I am, however, gonna put a little bit of Parm on the top. Just because we didn't have enough cheese, did we? We just didn't have enough cheese, did we? All right, so I am gonna do, so there we go. Just a little bit as I cover the top, right? La la la. Okay, Parm cheese. There we go. Because everything is cooked on here, we basically have cooked everything in here. We did the, the corned beef was deli corned beef, so we didn't really need to even cook that. We made our yummy cheese sauce, crushed up potato chips. Now, Vicki, that might be good. My only concern is like way salty. I mean, although it's fine with me, you know me. You noticed there was no garlic in here either, did you? You noticed that, didn't you? I know. You can't have, it's like cheese and bacon. I know, you can't. You could use rye breadcrumbs. You'd have to make them. You're right, that isn't a big deal. But I'm telling you, Gail, it doesn't matter what breadcrumbs you use, if you put in a little caraway seed in there, oh, it's all right there. So good. It's like rye bread you're tasting. Anyway, 350 degrees, 18 to 25 minutes. I mean, you know, I'm hesitant to tell you. All we're looking for here is bubbly. We're looking for it to be all bubbly. If you did put a crust on here, like with the panko and the cheese, you know, that'll be lightly brown and it'll be bubbly along the sides. But like I said, about 18 to 25 minutes. So really a quick, I mean, it wasn't that much. You just dumped all the pasta and the cabbage in the boiling water. While that was doing, we made our bechamel.